Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where in the world you are from today. Thank you so much for joining our exciting upcoming customer experience webinar. We are thrilled by the response with over 900 registrants for today's live discussion. As you can see in front of you, we have a fantastic panel of 5 great experts. And leading this panel is our excellent host, Michelle Krebs, Executive Analyst of Autotrader. So before I pass over to Michelle, a few pieces of housekeeping. To ask questions during the next 45 minutes, please use the Q&A box on your screen. Please type in your questions and we will try to get through a few of these audience live Q&As. So without further ado, we welcome all of you today, and I would like to pass over to yourself, Michelle. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Haley, and thank you everyone for joining us. Customer experience is certainly an interesting topic and an important one. Let's start by having each panelist give a brief introduction of themselves so you kind of know where they're coming from. Vicki, let's start with you.
Good morning, Michelle. Thank you for having me. I'm Vicki Paponi from Honda. I run the digital customer journey team that's really part of, and I also run the customer experience office. So I'm excited to talk about the topic.
Great. Matt?
Good morning or good afternoon. I'm Matt Carpenter, CEO of Silvercar and Dealerware, and proud to represent our two teams, Silvercar, the B2C app-based car rental service, all Audi vehicles, and Dealerware, the B2B fleet management platform. Happy to be here, excited to be joined by the other panelists.
Great, thank you. Raphael.
Hi, Michelle. Good morning. Good morning, afternoon to everyone as well. Rafael Flores. I lead our data integration team on the product management side at Treasure Data. Excited to be here as well.
Great, thank you. Robert?
Yeah, thanks, Michelle, and all the attendees. Good day. I am the lead technical strategist for Ford Direct and kind of stand 1 foot on each side of the OEM and the dealers in trying to work this experience across all those different challenges.
And last but not least, Simon.
Yes, good afternoon, good morning, everybody. Pleasure to join this panel discussion. My name is Simon Kunimhoff. I'm from Germany originally, as you can hear by the accent, and I'm responsible for the customer experience at Porsche Cars North America here.
Great. Well, let's talk about the big topic, the pandemic and the impact that's had on buyers and dealerships. Let's start with those from the OEMs. Vicki, maybe you want to go first. Can you share how you've been adapting, how your dealerships have been adapting to this changing market and customers' new needs?
Yeah, for Honda, it's always about the customer. So my background, I spent 8 years running auto product planning for Honda and Acura. And during that time, it ingrained 2 real things into me. One is that not only do we have to have differentiated products, but the only way to ensure that is really to look into the future and try to anticipate the needs and wants of that future customer. So we recognized early, several years ago, that Generation Z, in addition to millennials, really, but Generation Z, that the group that have basically been given smartphones from birth, they were really going to demand different experiences along with great products. So great auto purchasing things and ownership experiences that were different, and they're going to change the world. So 2 years ago, we launched a team, cross-functional. We brought in the finance company, the sales team, the marketing team, our IT team. We also brought in 12 dealers. And for us, it's even more challenging because we don't have not only just auto, but we've got power sports, power equipment, and jets. So we really try to look at the customer holistically. So we brought folks together, and then what we realized when we looked around, that a lot of the leadership was a little on the older side. So we brought in also some of our young professionals from our business resource group. So in that, the charter for this team was really to figure out where the opportunities were to improve the customer's experience, and at the same time, how to improve the benefit and bring benefits to our dealer bodies. We were really looking for some win-win items. So one of those things that came up was the ability for and the need to create an online sales channel. And what we realized is that the way the world was going is the dealers were having to develop this one by one. So they were each investing. It wasn't integrated. We couldn't help with the customer experience. So we recognized that was an opportunity. So we started working on online channel 2 years ago. So with the COVID, when it hit, we were 6 weeks from launching our Shop Simple with Honda and Accurate Precision Purchase. And that really lets the customer do the vast majority of their purchasing process right from their couches, from picking the vehicle, valuing their trade, buying an FI products, and getting credit approval all from home, and then went to the dealer to basically finalize the paperwork. So we were really excited because with all the stores shutting down, we had a tool we could help. So literally, we pulled the launch 6 weeks ahead, March 31st, we launched it. And we were really excited because not only did it give the dealers something to hold on to in this scary time, but it also helped with the tailwinds for the customers who, from a safety perspective, really didn't want to come in. So we're excited to say we have 300 dealers live right now and more in the pipeline. So we're excited to see the world shift faster than we anticipated with COVID.
Great. Robert, would you give your perspective from Ford Direct, please?
Yeah, so Ford Direct is a little bit interesting animal in this space for those who don't know about it. But so we're owned both by the dealers and Ford Motor Company. So we're an independent business, but we sit between the two with a lot of integration. So we have 3,600 websites with different vendors, but through Ford Direct for all the dealers and many other products and services that we support. So we went into war room, mode as soon as everything started shutting down, and we did things as simple as we created overlay maps of cases and executive orders, and started contacting. We're mostly tech people, so we could all work from home, and we're actually very productive in the process. But it really came into play heavily for this scenario because we were able to use all our assets to help the dealers. We went and looked at all the dealer websites, who's promoting, remote pickup and delivery. We do have a lot of tools, like Vicki said, there's a variety of tools that are out there, but there's ones that we've been supporting to do integrations across. So it's a better experience, and we can use scale to be able to do things better. But dealers are franchisees and they want choice, and so managing it across that space, we've done a lot of that. So we really looked at the nuts and bolts of it to support their ability to do remote deliveries, to do the online transactions as much as possible. We have fully managed chat services, so the kind of virtual retailing devices or tools that you need to do that. So we looked at how can we help them through when they're only open for service but not sales. How do we help message around that? We have lead generation capabilities and delivery to all the dealers, so we were really on top of that, trying to make sure that with the difference in people not in the office and communications, how do we make sure those are all handled and make sure that they get followed up on. So it was really again a major acceleration of the digital transformation that we've been working on. So across the tiers now, being able to make that experience a more delightful experience, hopefully over time. But it was quite an exercise, and it was all hands on deck, and the teams and the responses we've got back from the dealer community and Ford for supporting, being able to be in a position to help in a lot of the ways that they needed that help right at the time has been great. So it's really kind of put us in a new position to kind of lean in further now and continue the journey.
Accelerate, that's the theme I hear a lot. Simon, as we've entered into an economic recession and with risk-averse buyers, how is that changing the way that your Porsche engages with consumers?
Yeah, that's a great question. Of course, much like the other panelists who spoke before me from the OEM side, we really pressed the pause button a little bit when COVID first hit. We paused our marketing activities for a while, but then really focused on customer support and dealer support. So ensuring that the dealers have the resources they need to reach out to customers, ensure that customers feel safe coming into the dealership, most specifically, of course, for service. Much like the other panelists, we've very much focused on enabling digital retail and have really accelerated the rollout of our digital retail program through this pandemic. But then, of course, as the first weeks went past, we also slowly but surely ramped up our marketing again. And it was interesting. You talked about risk-averse buyers. Of course, the Porsche customer crowd is a little bit different, as you can imagine. But we did actually invest into a 1.95% financing program for Porsche, which is we haven't done at least in a decade. And it really caused many customers to say, now I'm fulfilling a dream. This is a trigger. COVID may not have hit my business or me personally directly. So I'll use this opportunity to get my first Porsche.
That is interesting. That is interesting. How about Matt? Can you talk about that risk-averse buyers and how you engage with consumers now?
Yeah, of course. Happy to. 2020's been some year, and it's definitely required us to rethink everything. And in some cases, to Vicky's earlier point, accelerate a lot of the deliverables from our side that the market and our customers needed anyway. So I should start by saying we've always been a digital and mobile first organization, a service oriented organization. And with both businesses, Silvercar and Dealerware, we've always embraced the role of technology to eliminate consumer friction and to deliver unique value. So I feel we were well prepared as you can be for something like 2020. But in regards to customer engagement, my biggest learning and the team's biggest learning is potentially twofold. Philosophically, regardless of your traditionally defined functional area, sales, service, customer success, finance, marketing, etc., we all own the customer experience, and we all need to have the customer forefront in our minds when we make decisions that impact our product delivery and impact the customer daily experience. So it is a mindset, it is a mentality. We like to call ourselves customer obsessed. And if you don't talk about it in those terms internally and openly, it doesn't find its way, that sincerity and authenticity to deliver a customer experience on the customer's terms. It doesn't find its way to the customer to the extent that we would like. So the two biggest questions we've been asking ourselves ahead of making all of the operational changes that we had to with the two businesses in 2020. Number one, what's good for our customers? And we have retail customers that are using our cars from a rental service perspective. And we also have dealership customers that use our fleet management platform. So what's the best for our customers, and what's in the Dealerware customer portfolio's case, what's the best for their customers? So that's the philosophy that we've always embraced, but certainly it's been amplified in 2020. Practically speaking, from an operational perspective, the key learning and key guiding light for us in 2020 is be where your customers need you to be and want you to be. So with our Silvercar business, we were quick to launch and start to scale our delivery options. The reality is, regardless of your car rental needs, whether you were coming in through airport logistics or leveraging our service via one of our city locations, many of those customers just did not want to be in an unknown environment with unknown impact. So we needed to bring the product and the experience to the customers, which we did. And what we continue to do is enhance that option to the customer by increasing our radius and increasing our delivery capabilities. With the Dealerware business, since especially the service departments of dealerships, as mentioned earlier by one of the colleagues, has been very much a lifeline of the 2020 marketplace, we needed to put them in a position to actually bring customer experience to their customers. So we've been working with our trusted partners, including Treasure Data, including RedCap Technologies, to make service loaner management, which largely is a core capability of the Dealerware platform, synonymous and managed by a single screen with customer pickup and delivery of the courtesy vehicle in the event that the customer still needs a service requirement met by their dealer, even in this crazy 2020 world where we don't drive and travel quite as much as we used to, and we will in the future. So providing a single screen to the dealers that's integrated with trusted partners to allow them to assign a courtesy vehicle to enable that service event on the customer's timetable and bring that experience to the customer via pickup and delivery, what we call out of dealership experiences, has been crucial, not only to take care of our dealers and put them in a position to succeed and thrive in a very difficult marketplace, but also to offer their retail customers, the end users of what we do with technology, the safest, most trusted environment, which largely is their own environment, their homes, and the most trusted experience possible with all the considerations of 2020 that frankly we didn't have to quite solve for up until this fateful point.
Perfect segue into, let's move to a different topic. How are you using data? Maybe Robert, kick us off here. Data plays a huge role in all of this, in delivering personalized and impactful experiences. How are you linking the digital and offline data across your channels?
Yeah, data is really important these days in identity. So, well, with all the changes in technology and privacy and the cookieless world coming upon us, we've really focused into our first-party data and being able to leverage that and action our first-party data and start to make it all actionable. So, you know, there was a period of time where it was all about a data lake and big data, but as we've moved on to digital, you know, experiences and consumer experiences, the key is having that data actionable. So what we've really been focusing on and working on is to make our very valuable first-party data very actionable and to leverage it in ways where we're using AI and ML to be able to identify audience touch points across paid media, across our CRM and our own channels, our web properties, so that when it comes to experience, when we touch somebody with some message that we understand, the next time we see them, what should the message be? Historically, it's been a challenge across the combination of tiers, the OEM to dealers, because there's lots of communications going out from lots of different places, and a lot of times they're disconnected in those messagings. It's whether you're getting messages post sale or that you should have got pre-sale. So really, it's all been tying the data together with identity. So building an enterprise identity mapping capability, so we understand whether it's a web experience or a CRM experience or a paid media experience, that we understand as much as we can within privacy, and everything is based on that. So in our world, CCPA and do not sell and all that is, it's literally part of.
We'll get to that topic. That's next. So yeah.
Yeah. So we've used the combination of really trying to take the data, tie it together with the identities, build our own walled garden. Frankly, we hear about the walled gardens and the power of walled gardens. Well, we got a lot of data, so it's a powerful place to be, and especially as this ecosystem is changing. So it's activating on those, and we're doing that at scale now across our dealers with advertising partners that we've done some unique things to tie that data together. So across our different product lines that we offer to the dealers, it's stitching all that together to make it all one cohesive kind of a communication experience, which the consumers end up benefiting from, because they don't want messages that are not pertinent or not relevant to them. So we've spent a lot of time on our analytics and our attribution around that and our ability to activate it. So, and that's helping us now connect across the tiers, so we can do that cross-channel, cross-tier.
Simon, would you talk about that? How does Porsche use the data to set up a customer-centric experience?
Yes, happy to. I mean, Robert summarized it perfectly. Here at Porsche, we recognize the importance of data very, very early on, and many years ago, actually globally set up a global CRM system that here in North America, more specifically, is fully integrated with all of the dealer CRM systems, because we know that our dealer network, as a panelist pointed out beforehand, like the choice. So instead of mandating a certain system, we decided to integrate with all of the CRM systems that are out there, and that really allows us today to communicate in a very personalized fashion to specific target groups. It also allows us, of course, to use all that data and develop specific algorithms to better understand the customer experience, then funnel that data back to the dealer organization so they can benefit from it in an easily digestible way, and then work with the customers to bring them in for service on a regular basis, or know best when to reach out to our customers when they think the next vehicle may be on the line for purchase. And I think another benefit that we've had here at Porsche Cars in North America is that we've bundled all of customer related functions in one group, which is our customer experience group that reports directly to the CEO, and that in and of itself, of course, helps because we can be the voice of the customer internally and help facilitate those discussions and decisions that need to be made in favor of the customer and the customer experience. And you all know that just by having the systems, the processes, and so on in place, and I think Matt pointed this out with Silvercar, it's also the culture that is really important in the organization. And this is also something that we're just looking to make constant improvements here at Porsche to become even more customer centric on a daily basis.
Raphael, we haven't had you speak yet. Let's. How about you jump in on the data question, since that's your thing?
Sure thing. When it comes to data in itself, right? One of the key first basic steps, really, and I think Vicky hit this in the head a little bit. It's data unification, right? To be able to personalize, the first thing you must understand, whether it's at scale or across smaller segments, is you must understand the profiles, right? And profiles really are people who are engaging with your products or services, right? So being able to have a single source of truth, whether that is first party, second party, third party data, it means you're able to get a 360-degree customer view of those profiles, right? Or of those individuals. And therefore, if you understand somebody's likes and dislikes, their attributes, their behaviors, even past transactional information, right? What have they purchased in the past? That can lead to a more relevant experience in general.
Great. Vicky, you want to talk about how Honda's use data in that way to get to know your customer?
Yeah, I think, what I'd like to share is that that's the holy grail, how to pull all the information together. And like Raphael said, 360, every OEM has these big silos, right? We got the service organization has a ton of data. We got the finance company has a ton of data. The marketing team with all the personalization around communications, we've got that. Well, we recognize that the challenge is really linking that across the organization to drive really better insights so that we can figure out how to anticipate what the customer needs and also to delight them. But that's the huge challenge, right? We got these big legacy systems, and at Honda, it's even crazier. Like I said, 5 times as challenging because we got the auto guys, we got power sports, and we have PE folks, and they're going back and forth. So what we're trying to do is we're not there, but we have a clear vision. But what we've done is we've brought everyone to the table. So we're attacking this from an enterprise view perspective. We've got all the senior leadership from all the business units together at the table with this aspiration to pull it all together. So we're working together, and we've got the great support from our president and CEO. So our view is like, hey, how do we do this? And the interesting thing that we found is like not only looking at putting the customer at the center and trying to make that experience better and unified, seamless, it's making us recognize all the crazy redundancies that we've done to our dealers, to our customers by building all these independent activities. So while we're working this to improve the customer, we're finding a lot of business efficiencies that we can get. And we're also driving speed because now business and IT is partnering together. We have a clear forward path. So much that we started out with a digital customer journey project, 18 to 24 months to bring a couple themes together. And we recognized the benefit of working across the enterprise. So we've transitioned, just like Simon and Porsche do. We now have a customer experience office, reports to the CEO, driven about bringing the enterprise together, keeping the communication and driving action to better improve the customer. The real thing is ultimately those insights, so we know where to invest that makes the customer stay with us happier, and where not to invest for things that don't matter. So that's really the business game, improving the customer's experience, driving their loyalty, and investing smartly.
Great, thank you. Matt, what's your view on how you use data for improving the customer experience?
Yeah, we use data every day, right? That's the nature of a software company. And our team believes that understanding consumer friction is the key to unlocking unique value, and unlocking unique value by eliminating consumer friction largely depends on data, right? So we use a combination of hardware and our software platform to do everything from read the onboard diagnostics of vehicles in dealer fleets to our software solution, which gives a view to the dealer or fleet operator, in this case, all the insights that they would need to get everything ready for the customer as part of the service initiation process. The reality is the most efficient operational analog processes don't really rival software-enabled automation. Even at our most efficient service departments, at our most efficient dealership partners, you still have the reality that many customers come in unannounced to service departments at the same time, many times during the mornings of weekdays on their way in on their morning commute. And with analog processes, what happens? Lines form at the service department at service initiation, lines form at the dealership as part of the RO write-up process, lines form at the fleet management desk when you're assigning consumers to their courtesy vehicles if their repair will cross over into later in the day or into the days to come. So we use our DealerWare platform and the enabling hardware devices to acquire data on service patterns, fleet utilization patterns, and of course, read from the diagnostics in the car itself to know geolocations of all of the vehicles, who's responsible for what part of the operational journey to match up a vehicle of a dealer fleet with a customer. And what we find is that using modern technology, using this smart combination of hardware in the vehicles and software as a cockpit, we can take down that whole end-to-end customer journey from 30 minutes on average to 2 or 3 minutes, just by connecting the operations at the dealership, the vehicles in the dealer fleets, and the customer experience and the requirements of that specific customer. So that all runs obviously on a foundation of data that's acquired over time. And we like to take it all in, put it all together, put it in front of the customer, put it, in this case, the dealerships, to put them in the best position possible to service their customers with the luxuries of modern technology.
Thank you so much. And we're going to jump into some audience Q&A time. So I'm jumping on to deliver some questions that we have incoming from our wonderful audience. So if you are listening, please write in the Q&A box. We have about 15 questions already. So welcome, Michelle. We're just doing some
Q&A. The internet.
No worries. Well, I'm just going to direct my first question over to Raphael. So we've had somebody write in, how critical is it to evolve into using real-time data? And how do you think it can be capitalized in the auto industry? Raphael, if you don't mind, give me some thoughts, and we'll also get Rob's thoughts on this topic, if that's okay.
Sure, and it's a great question. It's a question that comes quite often when we address RFPs, when potential prospects evaluate our solution. Now, when it comes to real-time, and I'll focus on real-time first, and then I'll go into the automotive industry. Real-time, it's becoming more and more critical, right, to be able to offer truly a personalized experience. And the reason for that is you want to do personalization at scale, right? To do personalization at scale, you have to do several basic things. I mentioned data unification earlier as a pivotal one, but you also want to segment in real time, right? And what that means is if you're able to get the data in or near real time, you're able to truly get a sense of individuals' actions as they engage with you across different touch points, right? That allows you to group different individuals together and target them at the right time, right? And that's a good segue into my next critical variable, which is real-time activation, right? That's also a hot term being used in the industry. And it's not so much just around getting the right people in the right place at the right time, it's engaging with them, right? And engaging with them in a way that you as a business know what the best next step forward, right? As these individuals are going through your sales funnel, by leveraging real time and leveraging the automation, right? The triggering, right? How can consumer A moving from stage A to stage B, what campaign can I trigger, right? How can I engage with them? If they call my local dealer, can I do some sort of a pre-fill that if I know their phone number and I can associate that to a profile, can I address them by their name, right? And that way they feel that I know who they are and I know what their interests are and I can offer them the right products or even services, right? And how that relates to the automotive industry, oftentimes people get caught up in, we need to get the next car sold, right? But it's a full end-to-end experience, right? It's about building brand loyalty. And in real time, especially during COVID-19 and such impersonal times, it allows you to really value those touch points, which are critical, right? They're milliseconds when you can actually engage with someone. So if you're able to do those things in real time, you're able to offer that end-to-end experience of, it's not about the next car, it's about the next part, the next service, right? It's about ultimately building brand loyalty.
Yeah, I'll throw in on that. The activation is the key, and just some examples in the auto industry. So we've been accelerating a expansion of a platform that allows us to manipulate audiences in real time for the paid media channels. So we can help even through our partners taking data, so activity that's happening on the website and actually move individuals because of this tying together into higher or lower propensity audiences to try to target and search and display. And so what this does is, one, it puts the right message in front of the right consumer, and it helps in the media efficiency spends for the dealer. But in use cases like we get transcripts from the phone call. So somebody fills out a lead form on the site and they're interested in a Ford Escape. And then they call the dealer later from one of the advertisings. We're able to connect the dots there, the transcript, put it through natural language processing in real time, understand that the salesperson talked them into a edge because there was a better deal on it. So, that night they're going to go home to try to do a little research on the edge. And we've already updated some profile information and analytics, so we could serve them an edge experience when they come back to the website, so they get right to the kind of content that they, are looking for. So by tying all this data to this ability to activate in real time across these channels, I think makes a huge difference in terms of the efficiencies of all the spend, but also the contextually relevant messaging you're trying to put to the consumer.
Hard to believe, but we only have about 10 minutes left. What I'd like you to all do, and I think somebody brought it up earlier, the whole privacy issue, and maybe each of you could address this. How are you managing privacy consent management regulations across the globe? Who would like to start with that one? Simon?
Yes, I can chime in briefly. You mentioned GDPR, and GDPR was a little bit ahead of CCPA. So we had our counterparts in Germany have invested quite a bit into of course becoming GDPR compliant by the then deadline. Again, we benefit a lot from our globally integrated CRM system, because all of the data is already in one place, which makes it much easier, of course, to comply with all of the rules. And so we took a lot of what our global counterparts had developed for GDPR and localized that for CCPA. And so it was actually a smaller adjustment than some of us had thought it might be. So we developed a fairly lean project team with legal, with IT, with our groups, and now we're able to process those requests on a timely basis.
Anybody else want to jump in on that one? Vicky?
Yeah, I can share. Okay, Bob.
Go Since I just had a meeting this morning with lawyers from Ford and Ford Direct.
It's fun.
As we try to, with CCPA and just the interesting pieces of that in terms of do not sell, and we got different businesses, franchise and dealers, franchises and Ford Direct and Ford as different entities. You really got to consider all the aspects. So we've actually built privacy by design into our process. So on the front end, we're looking at every single use case where data is involved. It goes through it's getting a better streamlining, but it's a discipline that's really helping us accelerate because we're getting more comfortable on what the individual use cases are. But we have to do some really interesting things at a dealer consumer level in terms of how we manage data. So it adds that complexity. And now we know state by state more regulations are going to come out. So we're trying to prepare ourselves to be able to deal with all those in the US anyhow. But it's a challenge and an opportunity. We see it, in being able to be transparent and do the kind of things that the consumers really want in terms of making sure we protect their data.
Yeah, like for Bob, same thing. It was we're doing it locally. And that piece about building in the privacy, we want customers to trust us, there's no doubt about it. So what we've done is we've pulled the governance, the privacy governance into the customer experience office. And in fact, the leadership is actually also part of the designing the new customer experiences. So right out of the start, we already recognize that we have the subject matter experts in the CXO, and we're driving that so we can go fast. But with the changes, it's going to be exciting. I mean, even in California, there's ballot stuff for CCPA 2.0, and we're not really exactly sure what 1.0 has. So it's going to be a crazy space. So I think it's going to be really challenging for all of us as we want to drive data to make better experiences. It's going to be a huge balancing act.
And Michelle, really quickly to chime in, because I think I bring a different angle as being in the data business and being a data processor, and I'll be quick. My advice as you evaluate solutions that with concerns around data governance and privacy and consent management is really three things, right? At a most basic level, make sure that they have the proper security framework in place, right, to address all the different regulations that are and will continue to come. Make sure that they have some out-of-the-box functionalities or integrations with consent management solutions, right? It's probably the easiest thing to tackle. And then ensure that they have the right policy-based permissioning in place, right? You want to, as a global brand, make sure that the right people have access to the right information, right? Otherwise, you can face huge fines. So that's often a lot of the questions that we get from the data processing side of things.
Great. I want to come back to you in a minute, Raphael. Matt, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think the colleagues summed it up pretty well. We have some advantages here. Our business currently operates in North America, so we don't have to solve for Asian and European standards yet. Of course, we are SOC 2 compliant. Of course, we do pay attention to CCPA and CCPA 2.0, to Vicky's point a little bit earlier. The only thing maybe that I would add to this part of the discussion is maybe just a challenge to everyone to prepare for an increasing amount of digital transactions. And we were early at Silver Car and Dealerware to PCI compliance as it relates to digital transactions. We've processed over $150 million of digital transactions, all PCI compliantly, if that's a world, and all on mobile devices. So my challenge to everyone is prepare for that world. Even traditional things that we take for granted may continue as commerce in traditional ways. I would argue will migrate faster to digital platforms and e-commerce systems, net of everything that's happened in 2020, even faster than we've all expected and been planning for up to this point. So if you can, accelerate your roadmaps to PCI compliance and work with best in breed partners that actually have a plan to get there as well. The customer wants to do business online. The customer wants to be on the right end of digital transactions. They want transparency and they want it well governed so they don't have to worry. So we need to get there together. So if it's not on your roadmap, it should be. If it is on your roadmap, move it up, please.
There's that word again, accelerate. All right, we got an audience question, but it's actually a great wrap-up question. We've got about 5 minutes left. We'll start with you, Raphael. The question from the audience is, we have seen digital acceleration across the industry, but what innovation or new release do you see happening post-COVID?
It's a very good question. And well, the first question is, when is COVID ever going to come to an end? But when it comes to innovation, right? Something that I tell you that I've seen over the past few years of doing my job is the whole IoT, right? And bridging the gap between digital and offline data. There hasn't really been realistic use cases, right? Which is why it hasn't exploded as it should have a longer time ago. Now I'm seeing more of that, right? So when it comes to some acceleration, I expect some acceleration in bridging that gap between the digital and the physical world, right? I'll give you an example. And I think our CEO mentioned this in a recent article, but we have an auto company that looks at a person's driving habit, whether they accelerate or brake often, so that then they know, is that driver due for a new car, right? Or is that driver due for new brakes or service? That is the type of use case that I expect to see in the automotive industry, right? With such impersonal times, the ability to do that will be critical. So I expect a lot of that to come into play over the next few months.
Okay, we'll do this quick, round robin here. Robert, what's the innovation you expect to see post-COVID?
Well, I'll jump on Raphael's. We're launching a use case where we'll be able to notify our consumer in the next 30 days about a time for an oil change, because their oil life is down, and we'll be able to message them on multiple channels. And that's just the beginning. I think that Jim Farley sees the opportunity in commercial and fleet vehicles to be able to use the capabilities of IoT and networking, and people using literally these vehicles as their offices to be able to transform the communications between vehicle and all the work we just talked about, being able to pull together and aggregate in our other scenarios. So it's tying that data to those moving vehicles. There's also, the state of the dealerships themselves with EVs coming in is going to really, change a lot of things, the way we do business, how those physical facilities are used. So there's a lot of transformation that's going to happen overall in the auto industry, but those are a couple areas.
Vicki, you want to give a quick, what's the innovation you see coming?
Yeah, I think we're just at the beginning, right? I think also that COVID has driven people to think more about buying online, and that even drives more data for everybody to use. So if you think after COVID, it's doubled the amount of people that are interested in buying online to 2/3 of the market now is interested in considering it. So think about the benefits of that from both the dealer perspective and an OEM perspective. If we can have more people buying online, maybe they'll wait longer for a vehicle, changing the inventory requirements for a dealer. So changing their investment strategy. Also, if we can see people doing that from an OEM perspective, it has to give a much better realistic viewpoint of what the market demand is and what the mix requirements are. So maybe it'll help take off the pressures of incentive requirements. So I just think we're starting. I think it's going to be really fascinating in the industry over the next 3 to 5 years as things transition. So we're just at the beginning.
Okay, we're about it. That went by so fast. I can't believe it. Excellent. Thank you to the panel. Thanks for bearing with my internet interruption. And I will throw it back to Haley.
Thank you, Michelle. What a fantastic panel discussion. I think you could have gone on for hours longer. So thank you all for your time. I can see that there's been quite a lot of questions and comments coming through from our audience, and quite a few, several hundred live today listening in. So thank you all. Recordings will be available and we will be sharing those with you. So do pass those along to your teams and peers. But for now, have a great rest of your day and thank you, everybody. Goodbye.